What's going on, everyone? PlayStation fans, gamers, tech enthusiasts. So, we got a lot of things to cover today. We got PS5 reviews coming in about how things are performing. We got what boost mode is, what enhanced image quality of backwards compatibility support is, along with, boost mode backwards compatibility support, and how that improves over the PS5 Pro boost mode. And then we have PSR, and then we're going to talk about, PlayStation 5 Pro, why it's not selling out, obviously. And yeah, we're going to cover a lot of things. So let's go ahead and get right into this. First, let's start off with the boost mode. Now, I don't know if a lot of people knew, but in the PS4 Pro, when you did boost mode, because we really understand how this works, it's just the CPU increase. You know, you were just kind of like getting that advantage. But with the PlayStation 5 Pro boost mode, it takes full advantage of the GPU. It improves the resolution and performance on unpatched PlayStation 5 games up to their cap. That's actually really good. That's a feature that I do like. Now I did a bunch of drama coverage on my last couple videos, and you know how that happens because people just can't accept normal facts about what the 16.17 teraflops is on the PS5 Pro and how it works, and how it's not 33.4 and why we need to ignore that number. And you had a lot of people thinking that it was because it was RDNA3 and ray tracing and all that stuff. And I just told them just a bunch of nonsense because no matter what you do, that 16.7 teraflops is the actual performance that you're going to be getting. And you can try to match it to a 4070 and put it in that dual mode where they think, but it's not going to perform that. It won't give you those results because you can put the 4070 and have that double that. So for example, over here, this is another thing I found. I had to retweet this. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I said this. Guys, look at this. This was back on March 16th, 2024. I said the PlayStation 5 Pro specs is being used in this sense, everyone. It's actually half of this. It's 16.8, not 33.5. 16.7. Man, look how accurate I was. And I've had other tweets too where I was telling people where I told them months ago what it was. But as we see with direct machine learning, because people were saying, oh, it has machine learning and AI upscaling. I was like, the Series X Men had it. That's like saying the Series X is RDNA3, right? But that has nothing to do with why they're performing at 24 teraflops and 16-bit. Even if you want to put it in 32-bit, it doesn't matter. That's not the actual number. The actual number is 12.2, and the actual number of the PlayStation 5 Pro is 16.7. So we're not going to get stuck on that too long, but now y'all know how that actually works, so we don't have to get too much of that. Like I said, if you want to look deep into that, look at my other videos. But it's just to cover that to show people that I know what I'm talking about. Now going back, we also have enhanced image quality. Basically what this does is it allows images to be enhanced on older games along with boost mode. So we got two backwards compatibility settings, which are actually really nice. So it's already turned on just like boost mode, but if you kind of want to see the difference to take a screenshot and then turn it back on and take a screenshot and see what the difference is, you can notice that on some games. Now, what Digital Foundry was saying too is very true. Some games you're not going to see a major increase with this, but what you will see a crisp increase on is definitely the AI um, text and the UI and the menus like that. They're going to be a lot more clear. So if, like I said, if you want to mess around with it, you go to settings, screen and video outputs, enhance image quality for PlayStation 4 games. This is for that. Boost mode enhances everything, even PS5 games. So that's the difference between those two. And you're taking advantage of the GPU and resolution. So people can understand how it works. And then we got PSSR. That's if it's Pro enhanced. It's kind of similar to DSLL where it's taking advantage of reducing the computational overhead associated with rendering games at high resolutions because developers can target lower resolutions and still achieve a similar level of image quality. So if you got a Pro patch, you don't need these two because that's going to take advantage of that. This is for backwards compatibility, and this is for Pro patched games. As we see, Elden Ring is using that. Now, going over to the PS5 Pro, we see it's available everywhere. It's not going to sell out because $700 is still ridiculous for a console price. Not that it's not worth $700. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that most people are not going to spend $700 on a console for that type of stuff because even if it is for older games, they're not even playing those older games. They don't want to. If I don't want to play a game, I don't care if the graphics are better or not. Somebody said I released a new patch for this game. Okay, I still don't want to play the game. You know what I mean? And there's some people that think like that and they're satisfied with the PS5. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still good for what it needs to do. Now, let's get into reviews now and talk about some interesting stuff. I like Dustin. He's cool. He's pretty base, and let's see what he has to say. Like, subscribe, y'all. Let me know what y'all think after what I just covered. If you have any questions, leave a comment. And if you want to challenge me on some things, like some people do, challenge facts, sure, go ahead.
Review embargo is finally here. Impressions are all over the internet. And one thing I wanted to do is sort of collect a lot of these reviews and just share with you a few snippets from all of the findings online in one succinct video. So let's get in and talk
Yeah,
about what the reviewers think right now.
we're gonna do some comparisons. This is nice. Stick around for this. It's worth it.
So first things first, there have been a ton of unboxings, a lot of looks at this thing, and while I will have a personal unit arriving at the house tomorrow along with everybody else, so stay tuned for Destin unboxes a console on his YouTube channel very soon, there are professional reviewers out there who now have their impressions live. And some of the thoughts are interesting, but let's talk about some of the important findings that we've seen. This is from Austin Evans. Zubitech had some of these stats up. Some of this is it's from all over the place. So PS4 Pro important findings now that people have their hands on it include that the drive actually has 1.89 terabytes of usable storage. As you know, consoles need to allocate a certain amount of memory or a certain amount of space to the system OS.
It's nice because when you look at the PS5, that was kind of an issue. They used up way more. You have a lot more free space this time if you need that. There's some people who just delete the game and never play it again. If they re-download it, they can also get an external. I kind of feel like they rushed that on people. It is nice if you get it, but it could have been a $600 machine without that. And you don't have the disk drive too. And it's just like that's the mistake that I think they made. You enforcing the 2 terabyte on people. People didn't ask for that. But it's
So that
nice.
leaves a usable amount of hard drive space, which is great. Obviously,
Yeah.
the 2 terabyte hard drive is a big selling point. Power consumption, surprisingly, is lower than
So yeah, power consumption is lower than the Slim because they put some new aspects in there to keep up and balance the cooling and all that. We see it runs loud. Obviously, that's just going to happen. Versus that, the Series X is done pretty well, less heat. I don't know about that. And then we have a new battery slot. All this stuff is not anything that's too crazy. So we're going to move over to the next thing and see that real quick and see what he goes
Xbox
with.
Series X is 37 decibels. This is based on Austin Evans testing. So again, heat wasn't really something we were worried about. He tested, I believe it was
Yeah.
F1 to determine the heat. New CMOS battery slot. This was called out by Digital Foundry, I believe, and a few
Just I
others.
want to see
But
what this
if your
is.
CMOS battery ever goes, you're able to easily replace it. You just unscrew a little thing on the console, and you are able to just really quickly pop in a new CMOS battery and get going.
Yeah.
But overall, let's talk about some of the review findings, because I think that's what you were really curious about.
Yep.
Maybe you haven't pre-ordered one like I did, or maybe you're somebody sitting on the fence thinking $700 is a lot of money. Well, you're right. Basically, everybody said that this is a lot of money for minor improvements, and it's basically for the tech enthusiast. And especially with some of these performance issues, let's get to that in just a second. Let's talk about the reviews. So The Verge gave it an 8 out of 10. I believe Tom Warren handled the review.
IGN strikes again, y'all, with their 7 out of 10. Never ceases to amaze me with that. I swear that's comical in the universe.
And he was more positive on it. He said, the kind of person who should buy a PlayStation 5 Pro is the kind of person who doesn't want to muck around. They'll want the best console gaming experience money can buy, a large OLED display to go with it, and a plan to park themselves real close to that screen. If you were not like a super enthusiast, like the Digital Foundry guys, myself, who's like really into the interesting technology going behind it, and you're a bit of a casual, you might not notice a lot of the improvements, which I'm going to get a little bit more into here in just a second. You might need to like watch a Digital Foundry video to know what value you are getting for your money.
So, I mean, it's basically this. If you're not into hyper details, it's not a big deal. But if you're into performance, see, that's something your eyes are going to notice. All this stuff he's saying is very true. Like, you got to sit there and stare at that and compare it. You're not going to do that while you're playing the game. You want it to feel good and perform good and look good. And that's what it's about. Just like Mark Sony said, most people play performance mode. They're not obsessed with hyper details. So why would you get the Pro? Well, that's what he's talking about. What's the point? You know what I mean? If you're just not into hyper details. But if you're into like, yeah, I just want the best performance, then I can understand that. And you just want to be ready for future games and you can afford it, it's no problem. Yeah. But if you can't afford it and you think it's a budget issue, then I can understand that. But There's people that it's not a money issue, so and then they still just don't agree with the price, and they still can afford it, but they just don't care to. Definitely if you have a high-end gaming PC like I do, and I own them all and I always will, but that's the thing on that.
And some people would argue that that value is less than you might expect. But Tom Warren, 8 out of 10, or The Verge gave it an 8 out of 10, mostly a 0.5 out of 10. And IGN landed right in that 7 territory. And it says, this is their social media quote. Obviously, you can go check out IGN's full review, because I know the team just knocked it out of the park and
Yeah, I don't know
did a
about
ton
that.
of work on it.
7 out of 10 IGN is a normal thing.
They said for $700, you'll need to think twice about whether or not the upgrade of the PlayStation 5 Pro is worth the price tag. So I think that's the thing everybody keeps coming back to. It's very, very expensive. And while you do get gains, the base PlayStation 5 handles games quite well and has treated us very well. So it's one of those sort of luxury buys. So if you have the additional funds and you have the TV to see the improvements and all of the other things that you need to maximize your enjoyment of a very expensive piece of hardware like this, then consider it, but it is very expensive. And GameSpot didn't really... GameSpot, so they don't score their reviews. They just had a big a big write-up about their impressions.
Powerful on paper, ordinary in action. So we see that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into the comparisons, which is pretty nice. So let's go ahead and do that.
When running at lower frame rates,
Saving y'all time.
Whoops, that's the wrong quote box. Performance-wise, CPU-bound games will still struggle to stay at 60 FPS, but they'll be much better overall experience.
Now let's talk about this, because I've told people about this before, how it's CPU bound. I want to give you guys an example, because a lot of games coming out are going to be, and even right now, are very CPU demanding. Let's take a look at this right here. Unreal Engine 5 is CPU heavy. Actually, there's a, here we go. Yes, Unreal Engine 5 is CPU heavy and requires a powerful CPU to run optimally. So as we start to take a look down here, we could start to see that. They're going to make the engine better over time, but it just gives you an example, because a lot of people use this engine. Let's go ahead and just look at this. Yes, next generation games are becoming more CPU heavy as games become more complex and demand more from both the CPU and GPU. In general, the GPU has a more significant impact on modern games than the CPU. However, a balanced system is more likely to handle future releases. You had a lot of people that were arguing with me too about the Pro, and I told them it doesn't matter what you think. There's still going to be a limit on certain games. That's why you see certain things happening with Elden Ring, is because it's CPU limited. When a game requires so much CPU usage to run at 60 or 70 frames. Definitely if you want to do like higher resolution and you have all those details to need to run that speed, because that speed to run the frames, at 60 to 70 frames, you're going to need a more powerful CPU. So there's going to be things in the future where the Pro will not be able to do because the CPU is the same. It's still a nice upgrade. And this is not downplaying, this is just getting people more in touch with reality so they can get ready to understand that, which is why the biggest improvements is going to be stuff like performance and fidelity, not quality mode. For games that are already out, yes, but for like your heavy demanding games out right now, just came out in future games, like GTA 6, forget about it. You're not doing 4K 60 native. It's impossible. Not going to happen. They're going to have to like tweak around a lot of stuff. But the point is that this is just getting people to understand how the system actually works.
For example, like a game like Elden Ring, it might have ran at 40 on the base PlayStation 5. Now it's like 56 to 60. If you look at the Digital Foundry video, you will see sort of that consensus with the unit. Dragon's Dogma 2, it runs at a higher frame rate, but there's some other issues that arise with Dragon's Dogma, or like the new Dragon Age obviously looks better, but there's some work to be done there. And optimized games, there's no doubting that they look absolutely phenomenal on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Stuff like Spider-Man that hasn't come to PC. But again, we know Spider-Man 2 has been announced for PC, and that's where you're going to get the best visual experience. But if you're a console enthusiast and you want the best looking console, like there's all these check boxes that you have to have for the Pro to work for you. Do you only play on console? Do you have a lot of disposable income? Do you have a television that can support the features? Then go for it, right? You're going to get a great console experience. But if you have the money to either build a PC or upgrade to a PC, that sort of introduces a bit of a challenging question that you have to figure out for yourself, whether you end up buying the console for the console experience or you make the jump to PC.
Or like if you have a budget to where it's like I can get myself a solid PC and get myself a PS5 if I want to wait for the PS5 to get on sale, I would say go with that because then you could get the exclusives that you want. Because for me, it's about software. You know what I mean? If I want to play the best third party experience, I'm getting the PC. You know what I mean? If I want exclusives that I don't want to miss, I have my PlayStation, I have my Nintendo. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's getting to that point now in the world now. Back then, it was different. Now it's about where are the best games to play at the moment. I'm going to spend a lot more than I will, on software. And some people, microtransactions, DLC, cosmetics, all that type of stuff, subscriptions. You're going to spend way more on that over the course of 6, 7 years than you will on a one hardware purchase to get all that with it. Think about it. That's why I say I don't think the hardware is really an issue. It's more about what are you going to be purchasing with that hardware. And I know some people that will spend $200 a week on microtransactions for gacha games and just microtransactions. Some people maybe 100, but even if they were doing only 100 a week, guys, that's $400 a month. 200 even if you were doing 50 for a whole year. 12 times 4, that's $2,400 just for $50 a week on microtransactions. You see what I mean? And you have an F machine for like 6, 7 years. If you get in the mid-gen, you may have it 4 to 5. Some people still head on to the Pro for a while. So just think about that. You know what I mean? So it's not really that big of a deal if we think about it in that type of context.
And you're able to sort of future proof your gaming. Some of the findings from Digital Foundry here, you can see their frame graphs. They had 51 frames. I believe this is Devil May Cry. So
Yeah.
it was on the base PlayStation 5, you're getting 51. You're getting 138% boost over on the PlayStation 5 Pro. And on Elden Ring in quality mode, you were averaging around 43 frames per second, and you're getting 58 frames per second in quality mode. Like I said from the beginning,
It dips on quality mode. Digital Foundry done a lot. So you get it around a 30 to 33% performance because Sony said 45%, but they said up to. There's a reason why they said that. For the most part, it doesn't happen. There's some games that may happen, but still, 30 to 35% performance increase is still good. Sometimes it can hit up to 45, but then it drops right back down to the 30 to 35. I'd say it averages at 30 to 35% increase, but there's sometimes, depending on the situation, you can get up to 40%, and then sometimes it'll hit that 45%, but it doesn't stay there. And we're going to have to do tests on different games to see that, but multiple games have shown that. But still, it's still a nice upgrade.
the PlayStation 5 Pro, you can build a very compelling PC unit that is like $800 about, and you can obviously upgrade from there to about $1,000. You should consider that. I'm not saying that you need to buy a PC. I'm not saying you should buy a PC. I'm just saying the bang for your buck is questionable. It depends on a lot of variables. So if you are that console gamer who has a lot of disposable income and you have all the other things set up for you, then yeah, the PlayStation 5 Pro has a lot of cool stuff going for it. And on top of all that, it does have one cool feature I want to talk about that I'm really excited to see. Enhance image quality mode off and on.
This is what I was talking
this
about.
for Bloodborne, for example. You can see here, Digital Foundry did a look at Uncharted, and you can see that it's definitely improved. It looks a little bit smoother.
So you see, that's it. It's not going to be something massive, but it's just a nice, like, oh, this looks more clear and more smoother for last gen games.
The image quality looks a little bit nicer, and I have to wonder, I haven't watched the full 1 hour thing, but I think that's a little bit of showing off in terms of what the console is able to do with the PSSR technology. And honestly, it looks quite good. And you can see that for a lot of other games. There's some games where, I believe this is Cyberpunk. It looks like Cyberpunk off the top of my head. The PlayStation 5 performance mode, it's sort of jumping all over the place. The PS4 performance mode, it's quite stable. And there was, hopefully I can find the
It's
There
okay.
were a lot of comparisons. Go watch the full Digital Foundry video, but I was trying to find one of the CPU bottlenecked games because they kind of discussed it a little bit here, in terms of what it does and what it doesn't do. But
But that's basically what he's covered. This is a good video because he gives some cool like insights on certain things. Also wanted to like give you guys an idea of what you're going to be getting if you haven't gotten it. If you're on the fence, let me know if you have any more questions. But like I said, that type of stuff is a notable enhancement. If you are big on going back into your old catalog, it's definitely a thing right now. But a lot of these unfinished woke DI trash games that were coming out that people did not like, and they were just going back to the masculine games and saying, "Man, we need to get back to that." Right? Definitely, if you're not playing Japanese games, which I always will, of course. Definitely looking forward to even more than some games from South Korea myself. But like I said, if you have some logs you want to clear that you haven't even got to yet, that's a nice reason to also get it, and for future games that you plan on getting, like first party games and maybe third party games. But I don't know, like, subscribe, support my channel. I'll be bringing you guys stuff like this for years to come. I also do exposing a lot of drama, into that too, and then I'm gonna be doing streaming, high quality gaming content. I do it all on this channel in the gaming world. So let me know what y'all think again, and y'all enjoy y'all's console. And for those that are thinking about it and you get it, enjoy it. Peace.